In the heart of the grand kingdom of Eronia stood the majestic royal palace, its towering walls concealing secrets more fragile than the wind. Among those secrets was the love between Princess Adana and Kofi, a humble palace guard. Adana, the only daughter of King Obinna, was bound by tradition to marry a prince from a neighboring kingdom. But her heart had long strayed from the royal halls. It belonged to Kofi, the man who had quietly guarded her chambers for years. Their love had blossomed in stolen moments, hidden glances, and whispered promises beneath the moonlit sky. The palace garden was their sacred space. Every night, Adana would escape her royal duties to meet Kofi beneath the old oak tree. They would hold each other close, knowing that every embrace might be their last. The weight of the kingdom's traditions hung heavy over them, a constant reminder that their love was doomed. But their bond was undeniable, forged in passion and longing, but also in the deep pain of knowing that they could never be. As the day of Adana's arranged marriage approached, their meetings became more desperate, their kisses filled with the anguish of impending separation.
I would give up the crown for you,
Adana whispered one night, as tears glistening in her eyes. Kofi held her tighter, his voice breaking.
You are a princess and I am but a god. Your duty is to your people, even if it means losing your heart.
The day arrived, and the palace was adorned with flowers and gold. But Adana's heart was shattered. As she stood before the altar, her mind was far from the ceremony. It was in the garden with Kofi, beneath their oak tree. That night, after the feast, Adana fled to the garden once more. But Kofi was gone. The king had discovered their secret love and had him banished from the kingdom forever. Adana collapsed beneath the oak, her heart heavy with the unbearable pain of loss. Yet even in his absence, their love lived on. Adana never forgot him, and every night she would visit their sacred tree, hoping, praying that one day the winds would bring him back to her. But Kofi never returned, and Adana spent the rest of her days carrying the memory of a forbidden love that defied both tradition and time. Years passed, but the ache in Adana's heart never dulled. She married the foreign prince, as duty commanded, but her soul remained tethered to the love she had lost. Her life as a queen was filled with riches, respect, and power, yet it all felt hollow without Kofi by her side. Each night, she would visit the oak tree, her only sanctuary in the palace, where the wind still whispered memories of their love. One evening, when the moon was full and the garden bathed in silver light, Adana sat beneath the oak, her fingers tracing the carvings they had made on the tree, symbols of their eternal promise. She closed her eyes and allowed herself to dream of the life they could have shared, far from the palace, free from the chains of royalty. Suddenly, she heard the rustle of leaves and her heart leapt, but it was only the wind. With tears streaming down her face, she whispered,
Kofi, please, where are you?
The silence of the garden weighed heavy, but the familiar scent of sandalwood lingered in the air. Adana's breath caught. She turned, and there, standing in the shadows of the moonlit garden, was a figure. Her heart raced. Was it him? Could it be, after all these years? The figure stepped forward, and as the light caught his face, Adana gasped. It was Kofi, aged but unmistakably him. His eyes, filled with the same tenderness, met hers, and time seemed to stand still.
I never stopped loving you.
Kofi said, his voice thick with emotion.
I wandered the lands, my princess, but my heart always remained here, with you.
Adana ran to him, her hands trembling as she touched his face.
I thought I had lost you forever.
Kofi held her tightly, their pain, their years of longing, all culminating in this one moment. They stood in the garden, reunited at last, beneath the oak that had borne witness to their forbidden love. But as dawn approached, reality returned. Adana's royal duties could never be undone, and Kofi had already lost his place in the kingdom. They both knew that while their hearts were united, the world they lived in would never allow them to be together. With tears in his eyes, Kofi pressed a final kiss to Adana's forehead.
Our love is eternal, even if we are not meant to be.
No, my love. Please don't do this to me. Don't leave me alone.
Adana watched as he disappeared into the shadows once more. She cried so bitterly, knowing this was truly their final goodbye. She would forever carry the memory of his touch, his love, and the life they were never allowed to live. The oak tree stood strong, sheltering the love story that the world had tried to bury but could never destroy. And though their bodies remained apart, their souls were forever intertwined. The end.